Alright, the combat phase. This is the big phase, the phase where you do all your shooting. So there's a sequence involved. It tells you you establish line of sight. So that's the same as in any other game. Determine if you can see the target. There's modifiers for the target being partially visible. So if a man is 25% exposed, you get -2 to your shooting, and if he's 50%, only 50% of a man is exposed, so he's half visible, you get a -1 to your shooting. So we'll go over that in a second. Targeting roll, lethality roll, and casualty roll. Alright, so I got these two operators here, and we're going to take a shot at one of them. I'm just going to do one. It's this guy here with the carbine. Just going to fire on that RPG guy there. So the way it works is you take your shooting skill, which is a 6 for the operator, and you roll a d6 and you add that to your shooting skill. And then for defense, you take your defensive characteristic of the target and you roll a d6 and you add it together. Whoever's number is higher wins. So if the shooter's number is higher, you hit the target. If the defender's number is higher, nothing, he misses. You have to exceed the opponent's defensive roll to hit. So if you equal it, it's still a miss. So for example here, I got my operator with carbine. We'll just assume he doesn't have any attachments right now. He has to hit that guy, so he is, we'll say he's 50% visible, and he is in a fortified position, which I'm saying that is because it's a reinforced concrete barrier. So you take those. So he's I'm a 6, so I need to roll d6. So his weapon's a carbine. It has a rapid fire rule, so that is he can fire 2 shots, but then it's another -1 to his shooting if he does that. So I'm a 6. I got -3 for shooting at a guy behind a fortified position, and I get another -1 for him being only 50% visible. And I get another -1 for rapid fire. So that's 5. So suddenly my shooting is down to a 1 from a 6 from all the modifiers. Not good. His defense is 2. So that's why the defenses are so low in this game, I think, is because it's quite easy to get your shooting skill down when you start adding in all the range modifiers. Real quick, I should go over that. I forgot. I'm sorry. But weapons in this game, they're assumed to have no maximum range. You can shoot the whole length of the table, except for thrown weapons, which are a 6-inch range interval, and I think they can only go out to the 2nd range interval. So anyway, there's a hummingbird flying in here. Anyway, so once you start getting out to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th range interval, you start taking more negative modifiers to your shooting. So shooting at a guy in hard cover, only partially visible at long range, it's going to be difficult to hit. Over here, each weapon has a profile, so this tells you what the range interval is. So carbine, range interval 16 inches. So up to 16 inches I get no range modifier. 32 inches, between 16 and 32, or whatever it is, 36, I get another -1. So I'm within 16, so there's no modifier there. Alright, so my shooting skill is down to a 1. But these guys have attachments. I guess I will do that. I have a red dot scope and a laser scope. Each one of those gives me a +1 to my targeting roll within the 1st range interval. So now I'm back up to a 3. So my shooting skill is now a 3. So what I'll do is I'll just roll the d6. So I got a 6 and a 2. So 6 plus 3, that's a 9. 3 plus 2, that's a 5. So his defense is a 2. So he rolls 2d6. and you do it separately because each one has to go with the shooting dice. So this is a 9, so I have a 2, so the highest I can possibly get with a 2 with a d6 is an 8. But that's an automatic hit. I can roll this one, so a 5. So this is a 5, this is a 7, so that shot does not hit. So once you get a hit, what you do is you roll on the lethality table. So each weapon has a lethality associated with it. The bigger the weapon, the lower the lethality. So you have to roll equal to or lower than that number. Oops, sorry. Oh, no, higher. I'm sorry. So you need a 3 plus or a 4 plus here with a carbine. You need to roll a 4 or higher to outright kill the model. So I only got one hit. So let's see what happens here. So I rolled a 3. So I didn't kill him, but I can still put him out of action. Now you have to roll on this casualty table. So go ahead and roll that. So a 2. So medium wound. He may crawl 3 inches and may fire his primary weapon for 2 turns, and then he recovers. So he gets back in the fight as normal. Once you start getting more serious wounds like these, incapacitating serious wounds, catastrophic incapacitating wounds, then you start bleeding out. Not only are you incapacitated, can't do anything, but you start bleeding. And it tells you how many turns you have until you die. So like if you roll a 6 on this wound casualty table, in 2 turns you bleed out, you're dead. 5 is a 3 turns, 4 is 2 turns. There are ways to stop bleeding if you have trauma kits, and I can go over that when I go over some of the equipment you can purchase. So that's how shooting works. The way it's worked, like elite operators, when they're close range, and they're deadly. They're deadly all the time, but especially at really close range. In this case, the guy's behind a concrete reinforced barrier. He's crouched down. He's only half visible. So that right there is adding a lot of negative modifiers to my shooting skill. But say if he was just in the open, it'd be an automatic hit. There are automatic hits in this game. I mean, if your defense just can't possibly match the lowest roll of my shooting skill, then you're automatically hit. And if you get hit twice, like a double tap, you're knocked out automatically. So the surest way to take someone out without having to roll is to do a rapid fire and hit with both, because as soon as you get that second hit, no matter what it is, you're automatically dead. So that's kind of what these guys with carbines, SMGs can do, is just they can take guys out every turn. You don't even get to roll because you're just double tapped and you're just out of it. Some other rules here. When you click casualties, sure to lethality. So some weapons like 50 calibers and heavy weapons, you don't get a roll. You just die on a 1-up automatically. You can shoot at casualties. That's a good way if a guy's down on the ground crawling. Shoot him again, and he's out. He's dead. I won't go over some of this stuff. Oh, shooting at inanimate objects. This is one thing I really like about this game. You don't have to target an enemy model. You can just target a point on the map. So that comes in very handy when throwing grenades, for example. So if this guy was right here, he doesn't know what's around that corner, but he's quite sure that there's an enemy there because he saw him run back there earlier. I could just throw a grenade right here. If the guy was hiding here, he'd get caught in the blast. So it's a good way to just clear out buildings, clear out around corners. Of course, you can throw a non-lethal grenade there too in the tactical phase if you wanted. And I think that's also how you do call in off-table assets. So if you were to call in an airstrike, you'd call it in the middle of the road right there. So the way that works is you must score an 8 or more on the targeting roll to hit an inanimate object or a spot on the map. So of course with elites, you need a 2-up. to do that because their shooting skills is 6. So if you're going to do it with a militiaman whose shooting skill is 3, then you're going to obviously need a higher roll to hit where you want. And it does scatter, so if I was throwing a grenade at that spot on the map and I missed, then I would roll a scatter dice. And I'm not 100% clear on that right at this moment, but I think it scatters like D6 in a random direction. So you can just get one of your old scatter dice, anything with an arrow, roll it with a D6, and that's where it goes. And they also bounce off walls too, so if you're trying to hit that car with a grenade and you missed, you could scatter D6 and go over, bounce off that wall, and then come back. You know, the distance between, say you rolled a 6, so it's 4 inches to the wall, it bounced 2 inches back, and then it would go off. And most of the smaller handheld frag stuff are these 3-inch templates, so you can hit all these guys with a grenade. These are also the size for the stun grenades. So grenades are really awesome. You can really do some damage with them. There's also underbarrel grenade launchers. So you can launch one of these, and I think it's 12 inches is your range interval for that. Grenades they're not real, I mean they're 4+ lethality, so they're the same as a carbine. But some of the underbarrels, like the underbarrel grenade launcher, it's only a 5+ and 3-inch frag. Minimum range 6, and another thing they can do is they can shoot smoke. I believe smoke, it just gives you a -2 to the enemy shooting modifier. They can still shoot through it, but they get a -2 to their shooting modifier. So that's it for shooting, and I'll go over close combat real quick. Alright, so close combat. This is, like I said, decisive. So what you do is you just, in your movement and tactical phase is where you would move into contact, and then in the combat phase you would do the fighting. So what you do, you roll a d6 and you add the dice score to the melee characteristic of the model. So in a hand-to-hand fight, this elite operator has a 6 melee value of 6, and the militiaman is only a 3. And again, there's modifiers to this too. Everything in this game has modifiers to it, which is cool because that's what all the attachments and stuff are for. So a 6 against a 3, just raw. So you would just roll his and his. So he still wins because he rolled a 3 and 6, 9. He rolled a 3 and 4, 7. So he would win. Some of the modifiers you can do, I think the elite guys come with combat training. It's just automatic, so they get another +1, and then you can have a combat weapon and a knife, like a small combat weapon, a bayonet or something, gives you another +1, and then you can have specialized combat weapons like tomahawks and swords, stuff like that, and that gives you another +2. So if you're really looking to get into hand-to-hand combat, give everyone a tomahawk or some kind of specialized combat weapon and combat training, and they're gonna be a lot better. Kind of a cool thing is you can shoot at a guy. If you're getting charged by an operator and you have a pistol and you're a militia guy, you can take a shot at him. So you got to take an agility test at -1. If you pass, you can draw your sidearm and shoot at him, and you can kill him on the way in. Agility test though, so it's hard to pass for the militia, or like a 3 at -1, so you need a 2 or less to be able to do it, but it's possible. The cool thing about close combat, this is how you can decide if you win. You can decide to kill, knock out, or capture the guy that you beat. So say you're in a mission where you have to capture a militia leader. You want to, their headquarters says, go capture that guy, bring him back, we're going to interrogate him. Obviously he's not going to go willing. You have to go in, get into close combat, knock him out, and then you need to carry him out of there. You can choose to do that. There's a chance you kill them on the blow though. So on a 6, you have to roll after you knock. If you hit them, you beat them. You say, I'm going to try to knock them out. You roll a d6. On a 6, the blow kills them. Or you can capture them and just tie them up and just push them along in front of you on the way out, which is easier to move that way, because if not, you got to carry them, and then it's agility only, or drag them, and it just takes a lot longer. Keep them alive. You can just push them out at gunpoint, and you can run out of there. What else is there? Second silent takedown. So yeah, that's close combat. It's pretty straightforward, but it's pretty cool because you can capture or kill a guy or knock him out. So now we'll go take a quick look at vehicles. So vehicles, I don't have a lot of experience with. I played a couple games with light skin vehicles and they were killed almost immediately, so they're very fragile. But there's a ton of rules for vehicles in this. I do have a Humvee I ordered for my American infantry if they ever show up, that I'm going to be using for that, probably with a Mark 19 on it. So I'm not going to get into the vehicles too much. There's tons of different rules for them. I mean, this is the armor penetration table. It's pretty big, and different weapons give you bonuses on these rolls. You know, armor piercing will give you like a +2 to that. There's all kinds of things that you can get to increase your chances to hit and kill a vehicle. But it's kind of cool because you can kill the driver and move in a random direction, and then you have to determine what it does. It could flip over, it could smash, it could just come to a stop, it could take out people. It's an out of control vehicle just careening down the road, and it doesn't have any idea what it's hitting. So it can bounce off stuff, it can crash into buildings, it can do anything. You know, the ultimate one, of course, is you blow it up, it's just a gigantic explosion. So D6 radius from the vehicle, everyone dies. So that's vehicles. Here's all the different vehicles. You got everything from motorbikes to M1 Abrams, and everything in between. You got civilian cars, quad bikes, technicals, soft skin vehicles, all the way up to armored patrol vehicles. And they all have different movement, defense, and crew, and passengers. Like I said, I'm not going to go into that too much, but there's a lot of rules for them if you want to bring vehicles into this. And these are all the different upgrades you can get. And night vision, bull bars, firing ports, turrets. So that's it for vehicles. So I think now I'm going to go over some of the attachments and equipment and weapons.